No!
And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
We're back now, 36 minutes for the top of the hour here. Again, our Board of Commissioners Chair, Kirk deViere, they had shuttled some things around for spring break because they got younger people on the board now. They have children.
Well, but it's also grandchildren.
Yeah, I said that's a good thing, though. That's a good thing.
You know, kind of looking at, our flow. So we just adjusted and we did this, in December or January, I think is when we adjusted it. So, and likewise, we actually this year also, historically, there's not been a meeting in July.
Right.
And we by law, you're supposed to have a meeting every month. By statute, and we're going to have one in July this year. We're only going to have one in the month of July, but
I did not know that.
But we're going to have one because what we saw happen last year. The pace of this board is a little different than previous boards potentially, and so there's a lot of activity. And what we saw is just a big buildup of activity, and we had to have a couple. In the month of July, there were some needs that the management team needed from the board, and we couldn't take action because we didn't have a meeting. And so we had to, do some things to make sure that progress continued to happen. And the August meeting ended up being, very big with a lot of built-up actions that needed to happen. And so we want to take that pressure valve off a little bit. We'll do a meeting in July, just towards the end of it, I think the third week of it, just to make sure that we continue the progress along and government continues to do work for the people.
I didn't know that there was a general statute that requires
The general statute says the county board shall meet every month.
Wow. Didn't know that. We have a state auditor now that we call people out, man, left and right. Institutions. They're on it. I've never seen a state auditor this busy.
We were talking about that yesterday. As we continue to look at things across our systems in government that we should be looking at it both internally and externally. We should have internal audit mechanisms. There used to be a process at the county years ago where they had project teams look at things. We were talking about this around, different systems within county government and having an internal team or an external team review those processes for efficiencies and those things. That's a good thing. And to make sure we're doing the right thing, and accountability, whether it's financial or procedural, we should have those checks in place. It's always good to have that shine the light, so to speak, on things and take a look at things and find better ways to do it. Or, sometimes mistakes happen and you just got to put a corrective action in place and move forward. There's no ill will or, underhanded, unethical. It's just, a better way of doing things or maybe an oversight.
Sure. Well, I would salute this board. One thing, you guys are very methodical and very task-oriented. I don't think I've seen a board like that of late, and so I salute you guys. With
some people will say that we're trying to do too much, and we push too hard, too fast. And my response to that is, there's a lot that we need to do as a county, and we have a lot of responsibilities We've got a good staff, and they need to be able to, move with us as we do this. But we've got a lot of work to do. When you look at underfunded schools, when you look at underfunded infrastructure, when you look at, compensation of our employees across the board, when you look at professional development for our employees, when you look at what we're doing with our mental health, with our unhoused, those are things that just can't wait, that we need to take action. So we need to be very deliberate about how we do that, and unfortunately this board also got to sit through a reevaluation as well and lower the tax rate. So there's a lot of activity that's happening, and I'm proud to say that this board does take a very methodical step, and there's a lot of input from all members. It's not just one or two members.
Right.
There's a lot of input from members. We saw that last night in some of the discussion on the topics. The full board was engaged, giving their input and giving their experience that they bring to that dais to have input on the different items that we discussed last night. And I do think that's important, that we look at things and we make this place, we make this community better for the residents that live here and for our children that are going to grow up here.
Now, so, when we look at, you're talking about the schools, there was a recent report about how we rank statewide. I think 43 was the number, the operative number, with teacher pay. But that's an average for the state. That's not indicative for each district, though. Is there any kind of indication where we rank within the state? Because I know there's 100 counties, but I think it's 15 school systems that are operated by cities or whatever, or towns. So do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so I mean, the when you look at teacher supplement, and that's really what this is. So there's a formula that we put on both of our, since I've been on the board, our legislative agenda to our state delegation, in conjunction with what the school board is saying too, that formula is flawed. And that the General Assembly should relook the teacher supplement. So at the state level, they have a teacher supplement formula that provides resources down, should be to low wealth counties to help offset to help increase the teacher base to get it competitive across the state. So you're not losing teachers from a low wealth county to a high wealth county.
Right.
You're trying to level the playing field.
Right.
Unfortunately, the formula is, in our opinion, and in many people's opinion, is a little bit skewed in the sense that if you have a low wealth county and you have a high concentration of teachers, so if you have a large school system like we do here in Cumberland County, it disproportionately affects that number, and we end up having a lower supplement than we should in our community. And so what we did last year, what the school board asked us to do, as a county, as part of our funding, is to help offset that supplement. So we went from, at a 13 in the region, we went from being at the bottom in the region. So we were losing people across the line to Hope County, across the line to Harnett County. So, they could go right across the line and make more money a year. We moved from being at the bottom to at the top. And that took an investment on our part. I will still argue and advocate that our legislators need to change the funding model. I was not there when it changed. It changed a year after I left. Although it was still skewed even when I was in the state Senate, and I advocated for it to be changed then because our school board talked about it then, and so did our teachers. But it's changed even more. But we need to get that formula changed on how we do it. Much like we should have some conversations around the ADM, which is how public schools are funded at the state level as well, which is basically average daily attendance based on a formula that's used to fund the schools. But when we talk about teacher pay, it is important. And so we at the county level supplement that, and we move from the bottom to the top in our region to make sure we're retaining the high quality teachers that we want to retain, and more importantly, we're paying the teachers what they should be getting paid.
Okay, well, that's good. I did not know that, but I know that there's a very robust discussion Not an educator, but I do read, and I think people need to understand that more money all the time doesn't necessarily translate into a better quality of education. Because, in my understanding, that like the District of Columbia, Washington D.C., one of the most heavily funded school systems in the country, yet one of the ones that is not ranked high.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, they're below average with their success rates.
Yeah, and I appreciate you. I heard part of your interview with our superintendent, Dr. Bracey,
On last Thursday.
last week, and I appreciate his focus on outcomes and performance of the schools. And so it's kind of people want to question, well, we're seeing declining enrollment. Well, why are we seeing declining enrollments? Because parents are saying, I don't want my kid to be in a school that's got a window air conditioning that's falling apart, that's got mold in the building. I'm going to put them into a private school or a charter school or somewhere else. So they're making those decisions, and the General Assembly through Opportunity Scholarships is making that available to some in our community that it previously wasn't available to based on income levels. Agree with that or disagree with
Right.
Opportunity Scholarships. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying, so we're talking about, seeing lower enrollment across our school, which equates to lower ADM, which is how schools are funded. So it's just, so as we lose students, we're going to get less money from the state. It's going to put more additional pressure on the county to do additional things and fund these schools. And now I've got less people in the schools, but I still got the same expenses of the schools. And so one could argue that the reason why we're seeing declining enrollment is because of the conditions of the schools. And that goes back to the county making the investments that we need to make in the school systems that we should have been making in the school systems for years, and ensuring we have the quality facilities, that we have the quality teachers, that we're paying our supplements, but more importantly, we're investing at the county level in the facilities so that we have these quality systems, because you can get things in public schools that you're not going to see in charter schools or in private schools. And so one could argue that we have declining enrollment because we didn't make the investments early on. Much like people want to, there's an argument to be made, we don't have a growing population because we don't have the infrastructure to grow the population. And that's a failure on the county's part on not making that infrastructure investment years ago to get us to a point where we're growing as a community. Same thing with the schools. If you don't invest in the schools, you don't have strong schools. Therefore, parents are going to take their kid where they can get the best education they can.
Sure. Well, I think now this was back a budget that you were dealing with when you were in Raleigh.
Correct.
People don't realize that a couple of those budgets, education, but I'm talking about collegiate level all the way down to K.
That's right.
58% of the budget.
That's right.
That you say, what? I mean, when you say that to people, they're like, what?
That's right.
I mean, I'm like, no. I say, how much more of the budget can we afford to give schools if you're giving them 58% of the budget? And some people find that fascinating, but we're talking about college all the way down to K, but still it's one system though.
And but the problem that you see and the difficulty, the blend, is when you have low wealth counties or these small rural counties, your tax base is your tax base, and that's what you have. The county's responsibilities are to fund a lot of the part of the facility piece of it. You've got some state dollars that flow down. You potentially have some federal dollars that flow down, but mostly state dollars that flow into the facilities. When you look at lottery dollars and some other specific facilities driven, they're funding teachers. They're funding, a lot of the programs, the social workers, the nurses, the different things that enhance the school. And it's there's certain things. People argue you've seen that declining at the state level, but when you look county by county, how you can make those investments are the counties, first of all, making the investments that they need to make. And when I came on this board, one thing that I was focused on, and I think majority of the board was as well, if not all the board, was how do we make these investments in education, because it's important. We can't control what happens in Raleigh. I can't control any more that happens
That's the
there.
point.
But what we can control is right here. I'm not going to argue with you about opportunity scholarships. Go to Raleigh and make that argument. What I will talk to you about is the investments that we're making here in our schools. You got to take care of your own. Just like our workforce, we can talk about how do we grow our workforce. We've got to take care of our own and grow our own. We got to create the pathways for these kids to grow up through our workforce. The collaboration that you're seeing with the hospital and FTCC, Fayetteville State, Methodist University, to grow these medical students or to grow trade through. We've got to grow our own. So likewise, when you look at funding, we can only control what we can control, and we can control that we have good schools, we have new schools, we have schools that are maintained, but you have to have an investment. And then we have to have the supplement for the teachers to match, because we are in a low wealth community, and we need to ensure that we can be competitive so we can keep those quality teachers in our schools.
And and that's another thing. Can someone in Raleigh really just raise every student, every teacher's pay across the state to a particular level with the models that we're using? Because, like I said, you're going from county to county. I mean, okay, there are things that they need to do, sure, but 58% of the budget, I don't know, that's probably less than 58% now, but still, more than half the budget is going in education. What can they do specifically? You've been there, and now you're here. What do you think can happen in Raleigh that can increase teacher pay? And is it totally their fault in Raleigh that the teachers are not being paid what they ought to be paid?
I think you've seen a majority party. There's always not enough. So they'll say, we're going to give you a 6% pay increase, but that's not enough. I think what you've seen, at least during the time I was there, is each year there was an increase. And so they move the needle. Is it where we need to be? Is it, where we are at across the nation? Yes, you can say, the National Education Association will show us rankings where we're low in teacher pay. Again, I think those are conversations that need to continue to happen in Raleigh, how we prioritize our dollars. The other piece of that is we've taken away master's pay, we've taken away professional pay at the state level. There's things that they could do to bring those types of things back as well. So there are some middle grounds that we could find. We could find the compromise ground. When I was there, we passed a budget for the first time in 4 years. And one of the things that we did is, we sat down with NCAE, which is the North Carolina Educator Association, and said, they gave us a list of 20 things that they wanted. And we were able to get 15 of those things when we were working towards getting a final budget. One of those was a pay increase. And what they asked for, the percentage that they asked for, we got. But it still wasn't enough for some. And you got to understand it's where are we spending the resources? How are we spending it? What's the compromise? Is it always enough? No, I'm gonna say we need to pay them more. We have to figure out a better formula and solution, but counties have to play their part as well. And I would prefer we are spending at the county level, spending our money in the facilities more than in the teacher supplements, and those teacher supplements should be at the state level, which is why I advocate for that formula to be fixed, because then we would have more recurring dollars for operational things as well as facility items as well.
Yeah,
So,
because we got some old buildings and
but it's operational dollars. So, could we have enhanced, so instead of having to do teacher supplements at the county level, if we're seeing a higher teacher supplement at the state level, we could then in turn to say, okay, let's look at different operational things. So that ongoing costs. So
Okay.
do we look at maybe it allows us to work with the health department or work with whoever to get more nurses in schools or more guidance counselors or more, there's some other things operationally that we could help fund at the local level that are dollars that we're putting in the teacher supplement, which we need to do because we need to ensure we invest in our teachers. But if the state level was doing that and that formula was changed, it would allow us to make other operational investments, not change the dollar amount, but make other investments that we need to make our public schools stronger and better.
Glad you
Maybe
brought
you're
that up.
investing in athletics. We heard last night from 2 constituents that talked about athletics are potentially a hook for public schools to retain people in public schools, as well as recruit people to come back to public schools as a foundation. So maybe we could use some of those operational dollars to invest in some of those sport athletics. Maybe it's STEM, maybe it's other things that provide something that is unique to public schools to enhance the educational outcomes of our students.
Well, so I'm glad you brought up, the collaboration between some of the human service organizations and the public schools. Back before your time, 2017, we had a board that allowed the then executive of the Public Health Center to get rid of the child dental health.
Right.
I'm saying that make it make sense, man. I mean, that was dumb. Yeah. But again, that was a board that allowed that to happen because there's the boards over the executive. At that time, this guy's name was Buck Wilson. But my thing is but they allowed that to happen, and it made no sense whatsoever. They were coming before the Board of Commissioners, and they were talking about cuts and everything. That was before your time. Mm-hmm. But Commissioner deViere, that made no sense at all. I mean,
we need enhanced services that impact our citizens, not reduce them.
And
I think that's part of the conversation we're having right now around Health Department and Department of Social Services is how do we provide a better level quality of service, provide the capacity that our workforce needs, our county employees need to provide a better level of service for the dollars that we spend to our citizens. Because at the end of the day, it's about service delivery for the people that need it the most.
Right, and you have indigent children in public schools that was getting the service from the public health, and they eliminated just because.
Right.
I mean,
make it make sense, as you say.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about, and so now, and we never got it back.
Right.
So I'm just saying is that these boards are important. And you would think that anybody on this board would have said, no, we can't do this. But they stood there and they watched that.
And just several years ago, so back in 2017.
That was 2017. Yeah. But still, this is 2026 we have here, but still, it didn't get fixed.
And one of the things that we've been focused on as well, talking about the pace at which this board moves is making sure that we are engaging our boards and commissions to get people filled on those seats. We had over 100 plus seats of open boards and commission seats when I came into the chairman, and we've been very deliberate about trying to recruit quality people to these over 100 to these boards and commissions, especially when you look at some of these critical boards like the Health Department Board, the Department of Social Services Board, and many others across the community. We want to make sure that we're inviting, we're educating people that have that work-life experience that can bring their voices to these boards and be active parts. They're not just there to show up and rubber stamp. They're there to be an extension of us, an extension, more importantly, of the community voice that needs to be represented on that board, but bringing a level of experience and expertise to these boards is important. And while people that are on there is good to have as from a foundational standpoint, and maybe somebody's been on the board, it's also good to bring new voices on boards and commission as well, but bringing people that are focused on making an impact and focused on the mission of those boards.
Right, cool. Well, look, get ready to get out of here. Tell Greg that I look forward to, at some point, playing him with a chess clock, okay?
He'll probably have 2 words for you, Uncle Troy. It'll be checkmate.
I don't mind getting beat up by the young folk. I don't mind getting beat up by the young folk. Excellent. Well, look, last word is yours.
No, thanks again for your time. Just want to remind everybody, if you get an opportunity, Cedar Creek Water District tonight, 6 p.m., Savannah Missionary Baptist Church. We'll be out there talking about water and sewer districts and the planning towards that and how we're going to bring additional resources into our community to make it better. But thanks always, Troy, for your time and your conversation.
Sure. Thank you. Caleb he's producing today with Reverend Paul. He's doing a great job, and they have an event at Fayetteville State University at 2 o'clock, like from 2 to 3. And give me the name of that again. the Spalding building, and Caleb is going to be there representing the disability department.
There you go. Good
all
stuff
right.
happening. Good
That's
stuff
right.
happening at Fayetteville State.
That's right. FSU, Bucko Pride. Out of here, guys. Have a great one.
Thanks.